Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a review here for a 2018 crime thriller, mystery, suspense movie. I don't know what to call this. It's a lot of things. It's very much, first and foremost, a Tarantino movie throwback. It's very much like his kind of film, from the soundtrack to it taking place in 1969. But anyway, this is from the director-writer Drew Goddard, who brought us things like Cabin in the Woods, which I love, and the Daredevil TV show for Netflix back in the day, which I do not love. It does not inspire joy, for anybody who knows that joke. Anyway, this movie is called Bad Times at the El Royale. Now, this is about a hotel where a bunch of people are meeting up who don't know each other. I'll talk about them in a moment. But there was a crime in the prologue of this film where somebody was killed, and there was money that was hidden in the base of the floor of one of the rooms, right? So we assume all of these people, if not some of them, if not only one of them, are coming to this place later in the film in 1969, once again, to possibly find this money or investigate about the money. We don't really know, but I'll get to the characters again in a moment. Essentially, this hotel, the El Royale, it looks to us in current day kind of sleazy, but it's not. It's kind of classy for 1969. It's on the border of Nevada and California, and they actually have the state line running through it into the hotel, and it actually divides the hotel into two separate areas where you can stay in either state, if you will. Very cool. I don't know how taxation would go on that. Is there a way to evade in that case? I don't know. I'd be very curious. But anyway, so we basically follow Jeff Bridges, who was phenomenal in here. Pretty much everybody was great, but he was especially great in this, aside from another actor I'm going to talk about later. You have Jeff Bridges, who is a priest, who seems to have some memory issues. We get more into that as the film goes on. But then we also have the chick from Wicked. I don't know her name, the one with the green paint on her face that is very controversial. She's in this, she shows up. We don't really know what her motive is. She's kind of used to racism and whatnot because it is the 60s at the time, getting ready to go into the 70s. But she was actually really good here. So it kind of makes me hope that Wicked will end up being fairly decent, even though I probably won't review it on this channel because it's not a horror movie. But it gave me some hope for her, that maybe she has some talent. So then we have Dakota Johnson show up, who's wearing sunglasses, seems to be kind of hiding herself, doesn't really talk all that much, but she's also very snarky and rude. But she's very quiet at the same time, so we think something's going on with her. She seems to possibly be on the run somehow, some way. We're not really sure yet, though. And then you have my boy, John Hamm, who was already there before any of them showed up, and he was phenomenal, as always. It's John Hamm, man. So they all stay in this hotel, they don't know each other, and then there's like a weird desk guy, who's like a younger man who came from Vietnam, the war, I mean, and he is very strange. He mumbles a lot of his lines. The performance is amazing from whoever this guy is. I've never seen him before. I thought he was Tom Holland. I don't think it's Tom Holland. But he kind of mumbles his lines a lot, but then when he has to go into like his speeches, the hotel tells him he has to tell the guests about the hotel and the state divide within the company and everything. He has to go into this really confident motto and this really confident speech. And he's great in here. He really is. The film has a lot of heart and soul in it. The soundtrack, again, being very 70s and 60s themed, really adds to that in a lot of ways. But the El Royale, I love the hotel itself. I think it's really cool. But all of these people seem to have their own motivations of why they're at the El Royale. And I gotta tell you, man, oh man, the film is told in a very Pulp Fiction way. Everything is kind of out of order. Sometimes scenes are being told from another angle of the same scene concurrently. It is kind of dull when you see movies do that. I'm not a fan of Pulp Fiction. It's got its moments. It's kind of classic in some of its lines, but that's it for me when it comes to that movie. I like this more than Pulp Fiction. I thought it was a very big improvement on some of the things that Tarantino did back then. It's clearly Drew Goddard trying to tap into Pulp Fiction in its own way. But I like this a lot. However, it's 2.5 hours long, and it took me a long time to get into this movie. I would say I wasn't fully engaged into it, like fully. I was interested in the beginning of it when certain things happen at the end of each of the different perspectives we follow. I found some interesting things there. I thought the mystery of trying to find this money that was missing was interesting. I was curious about all of that. However, my full attention was not into this film until about an hour and a half in. And I know that sounds like a crazy thing to bring up, and like, well, you just didn't enjoy the movie. Well, no, I'm telling you, I enjoyed the film okay, and then comes Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth, I've said this again and again. There are people out there like Chris Evans and Chris Pratt, the other Chris's from the Marvel movies, that I love quite a bit. Incredibly talented dudes. They do not have much range. Most actors in Hollywood, I would argue, don't have much range anymore. Chris Hemsworth went from playing a doofus dork like Thor, that he had to turn into a comedic role because they don't know what to do with Thor in those movies, but he went from that to doing and being the best part of Ghostbusters 2016. He was hilarious there. He can do drama, he can do scary, he can do comedy. He's just incredibly talented. In this movie, he comes in playing almost this, I don't want to tell you anything about it, in case you haven't seen Bad Times at the El Royale. I don't want to tell you anything about it, but I will let you know he is barely in the film, maybe 30 minutes of the movie, maybe the final 40, I guess you could say. He killed it. He was the highlight of this film, and I was telling my wife yesterday about this movie, that when he came in, it saved this movie. I think I'm going to put it in my shelving over here with the horror, thrillers, whatever, because of how amazing he was and how he saved this movie. He was so intense and fun. There's a dance scene involving him that just made it even funnier. I loved him. He is so damn good in every role I've ever seen him in. He brings his A-game to every movie he's in. Everybody was bringing their A-game here. I don't know if I said it in this attempt to record or another one, but Dakota Johnson, amazing here. Surprisingly great here. Jeff Bridges, great, always. John Hamm, great, always. You have some other side characters I can't really go into without spoiling too much. Specifically with Dakota Johnson's character also, that they were all really good. You know, this has a lot to offer if you're into that kind of thing. It is a beautifully shot film for a period piece. It's incredible how well captured the 70s, or the 60s, I guess in this case, since it's 69, were caught for this movie. But the soundtrack, the look of the film, all of that just brings everything perfectly together. The cast and script are amazing. I'm surprised this was not up for Best Picture, the way Pulp Fiction was back in the day. Very surprising to me. Drew Goddard is incredibly talented. Despite my not so much love for everything he does, I can recognize talent, and incredible talent at that. And the dude is so freaking good at what he does. How he writes, how he directs, all of that. I recommend the film amazingly well if you haven't seen it before. It's pretty cool for a mystery film. I gotta say though, the ending still kind of lets me down just a little bit. It's not like a massive like switcheroo or anything. It's not like that movie Identity with John Cusack. It's nothing like that in case you're scared about it. But it's just, it took so long to bring in my boy Hemsworth and make him steal this movie from everybody else who was already doing great with it. Dude, you've got to see this if you haven't seen it before. Very cool film. Even though my rating is going to be kind of low, a lot of that is reflected because it took me so long to get into it. I think on a second watch, I may love it more because there were so many character details. Again, very much like a Tarantino movie. This is heavily character-focused, heavily character-centric and kind of a character study, but there are so many small details. I know even after watching this, with how complex it is, I know there are character things I had to have missed throughout the film. So I want to see it again at some point and just discover everything I missed about it. But for a first-time watch, really cool flick I recommend for everybody who hasn't seen it before, if not a little slow too often, you know? But if I had to rate the film Bad Times at El Royale at a 5-star basis, I'd probably give it about a 3 out of 5 stars, man, but kind of like on the higher side, you know? It's closer to a 4 than you may realize because of Hemsworth. If he hadn't shown up and hadn't been as great as he was, it would have been about a flat 3 and I would have been just okay with the movie. But he made this film, I'm telling you. He made it. He made it so much better than it ever could have been, and Jeff Bridges did too. So anyway, have you seen Bad Times at the El Royale? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you like it more than Tarantino films? This is, to me, topping a lot of his movies, because I'm not a big Tarantino guy. I like certain things. Love his Western movies. I wish he'd do more of that. But this was like a big surprise for me. Something I was looking forward to, was kind of bored with most of the time, but then it took off, man. It really saved itself later on. But yeah, it's cool if you like that mystery feel to some movies. So anyway, have you seen it? What do you think about it? Let me know what your thoughts are down below, what you would rate it, all of that stuff. And thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.